Welcome everyone. Today we embark on an explorative journey through Psalm 95. The title of today's devotion is Choose Faith over Hardness of Heart. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a magnificent mountain range, absorbing the overwhelming power of what's in front of you. I've had this privilege a number of times, no greater than when I visited the Himalayas. This scene mirrors the awe and reverence we encounter in Psalm 95, a vibrant call to celebrate the Creator's might and mercy. As we delve into this psalm, we will uncover how it beckons us to a dual response, to joyously exalt our God while also heeding a solemn warning about the heart's condition. Let's begin by looking at the author and background of Psalm 95. Traditionally, Psalm 95 is attributed to King David, renowned as both a musician and a spiritual leader. This influence on worship and music in Israel's religious practices is profound. However, modern scholars suggest that while David's influence is undeniable, the actual text may not have been penned by him directly. Instead, these psalms are viewed as communal expressions woven into the fabric of Israel's spiritual life, used in ceremonies and significant festivals like the Festival of Tabernacles. Understanding this helps us appreciate the psalm not just as a historical artifact, but as a living part of worship that evolved through generations. The Book of Psalms, organized into 5 distinctive sections, mirrors the theological progression of the Pentateuch, but without a direct historical correlation. Books 1 and 2 focus on David's reign and the establishment of his kingdom amid challenges. Book 3 responds to national crisis during the Assyrian and Babylonian conquests. Book 4, where Psalm 95 is found, reflects a deepened faith in times devoid of traditional religious structures, emphasizing reliance on God's kingship during exile. Book 5 celebrates the return from exile with psalms of ascent and songs of restoration. Psalm 95 in particular underscores Yahweh's sovereignty, serving as a vital liturgical piece that connects historical events with theological teachings vital for both Jewish and Christian traditions. Let us analyze the structure and themes of Psalm 95. Verses 1 to 2, a vibrant call to worship, inviting us to make a joyful noise to the Lord. These verses set the stage for a communal celebration of God's steadfast protection, metaphorically depicted as the rock of our salvation. Verses 3 to 5. These verses provide reasons for our worship, portraying God as the supreme ruler above all gods. They emphasize his creative power and rule over the universe, affirm worship based on belief of one God, countering any beliefs of multiple gods. Verses 6 to 7. Here, the psalmist invites us into a posture of deep reverence, bowing and kneeling before our Creator. This shift from exuberant praise to humble adoration reflects our intimate relationship with God, just like a shepherd caring for his flock. Verses 8 to 11. The tone shifts dramatically to a stern warning against hardening of our hearts, as exemplified by Israel's rebellion at Meribah and Massah. These verses serve as a moral and spiritual caution, urging us to remain obedient and receptive to God's guidance. By exploring these segments, we see how the psalm transitions from jubilant praise to a solemn warning, creating a balanced spiritual narrative that resonates through the ages. Reflecting on my journeys through the Himalayas, particularly when my bike broke down, I experienced a moment of clarity and awe. Initially focused solely on navigating the road's hazards, my unexpected pause allowed me to truly perceive the majesty around me, much like the spiritual journey Psalm 95 invites us to undertake. This psalm not only calls us to recognize God's creative power, but also includes a stern warning, reminiscent of Israel's experience at Meribah. There, despite witnessing God's miracles, the Israelites' faith wavered and their hearts hardened when faced with adversity. They missed the opportunity to fully trust in God's provision as they stood on the brink of the Promised Land. The connection here is profound. Just as I was surrounded by the Himalayas' splendors, yet initially blind to it due to my focus on immediate challenges, we too can become so entangled in life's immediate hurdles that we fail to see the broader landscape of God's work in our lives. Psalm 95 serves as a reminder that our journey isn't just about overcoming immediate obstacles, but also about lifting our eyes and hearts to acknowledge and trust in God's overarching sovereignty and love. In real-life applications, this teaches us that during challenging times, whether in personal crisis or collective hardships, the call is to trust, to believe that we are on the verge of entering our promised land, whatever that may represent for each of us. By connecting with everyday challenges with the lesson of Meribah, we learn the importance of faith and obedience even when the road ahead is uncertain. Let us then embrace this psalm as a call to not only see, but also to act with faith, assured by the visible and invisible manifestations of God's presence in our lives. It's about recognizing those moments when God is inviting us to trust Him deeply and enter into faithfulness of life, He promises, just as the Israelites were invited to step into the Promised Land. As we draw our exploration of Psalm 95 to a close, let's consider how this psalm can act as a blueprint for our daily lives, turning every day into an act of devotion. Here are practical ways we can bring the lessons of Psalm 95 into our everyday activities. Daily worship. Integrate small acts of worship throughout your day. This could be through music that uplifts, prayer that connects, or moments of gratitude for the blessings in your life. Each act, no matter how small, is a step in acknowledging God's enduring presence and sovereignty. Community engagement. Actively participate in community worship. This strengthens our bonds and reaffirms our collective commitment to our faith. In a world that often emphasizes individualism, coming together in worship is a powerful testament to the strength and unity of our spiritual community. Mindfulness and obedience. Reflect on the lessons from the Israelites at Meribah as a reminder of the dangers of spiritual complacency. Strive to keep your heart open and responsive to God's guidance. Just as my experience in the Himalayas taught me to lift my eyes and truly see, let us lift our hearts and minds in obedience and faith. Ask yourself these questions. How can my daily life better reflect my worship? Am I truly attentive to God's voice amid the distractions of modern day life? Let these questions guide you in fostering a more worshipful and attentive life. In closing, I invite each of you to reflect on Psalm 95, not just as a text, but as a call to deeper worship and obedience. As we move forward, let's carry the echo of Psalm 95 in our hearts, a melody of worship and a rhythm of obedience that shapes our lives, honoring the sovereign God we serve. Let's now open the floor to any questions or personal reflections. How has this discussion of Psalm 95 touched you? What steps will you take to implement its lessons in your daily life.